You little witch. That's why we can't get nowhere as a people.
Get up, let's fight. Come on.
Let me say my prayers.
Playing for Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, you know what I'm saying? And I wanted to get with that, but she was tripping, you know.
Did you know Martin's most loved line was actually a mistake? Yep, it's true. And just one either. Some of these lines that had everyone laughing, quoting, was never meant to be in the script. Total accident. Just pure unplanned magic on set. But wait, there's more. Martin is packed with even more behind the scenes stories you probably didn't know. For instance, did you know that the iconic "You So Crazy Out" catchphrase was created on the spot by Martin Lawrence himself? Get ready to dive into more fun facts and little known moments that made Martin the legendary show we know and love today. Okay, so first off, let's talk about Officer Warren and that doorframe situation. Every time he walks out the front door, there's this loud thunk. And he acts like he just smacked his head, grabbing it, wincing, really selling it. But if you actually watch closely, his head doesn't even get close to the frame. The sound effect and his reaction are totally on point, but visually? Nope, doesn't track. Still, you gotta respect the dedication to the gag, even if it doesn't quite line up.
Are those guns, or y'all just happy to see us?
It's a gun.
Okay, so there's that scene in season 1 where the shady cop busts into the Payne's place only to get taken down by Gina. Well, kinda. The lights are off, so it's supposed to look like total chaos, but if you're paying attention, you'll catch the officer literally crouching down like he's prepping for a trust fall before Gina even touches him. When the lights flip back on, Gina's just draped over him, acting like she pulled off some epic takedown. It's one of those moments where the action doesn't totally land, but the comedy still makes it work.
6'4". Just so happens that I'm jobless, Tommy.
In season 2, there's this hilarious moment where Martin's grilling his neighbor for not taking his shoes off, and the bedroom door behind him is cracked open. If you're paying attention, you'll catch Tommy rocking a bright yellow shirt, casually walking out of the bedroom. No biggie, right? Except, like 2 seconds later, there's a knock at the front door, and surprise, it's Tommy arriving at the apartment. Total glitch in the Matrix. Oh, and to top it off, Martin goes from standing to suddenly sitting when the door opens. It's so quick you might not notice, but once you do, it's impossible to ignore. In season 3, when Martin's wrestling with the so-called puppy at the door, it's pure chaos in the best way. His over-the-top flailing and those classic dramatic reactions are on full display. But here's the kicker. If you look real close, there's a little behind-the-scenes blooper that sneaks into the shot. While he's busy making it look like this ferocious little dog is trying to break through, you can actually spot a crew member's hand on the doorknob, giving it a sneaky push to sell the whole act. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment that totally breaks the illusion. But honestly, knowing the secret makes it even funnier. And then there's the popcorn moment in season 3 also. Everyone's diving for cover, freaking out because they think they've heard gunshots. But the tension is totally killed when the microwave beeps and Tommy casually reveals it's just his popcorn. He pulls out a white bag, but in the next shot, plot twist, it's a red bag. Did the popcorn get a makeover? Was there a backup bag ready to go? Who knows, but it's one of those little goofs that just adds to Martin's chaotic, anything can happen energy. You can't talk about Martin without mentioning one of his legendary showdowns with Pam. In one epic moment, Martin dramatically sniffs the air and goes, "Pam, is that your breath smelling like boiled bologna?" And without missing a beat, Pam comes back with, "Nah, that's your feet eating through those shoes again." Their roast sessions were fire, with each comeback more savage than the last. Pam's quick with it, and Martin's over-the-top delivery, pure gold. Their back and forth was definitely one of the funniest parts of the show.
You mean to tell me men don't get scared?
Only when you miss your period.
Did you know Martin Lawrence didn't just play one role on his show? Nope, the guy pulled off 9 characters, each with their own wild quirks, over-the-top personalities, and unforgettable one-liners.
It's got so many pots and pans around here, you think somebody know how to cook.
I know how to cook.
There's Mama Payne, Martin's version of his mom is a no-nonsense queen who runs the show with sharp comebacks and classic tough love. She's got no problem putting Martin in his place with her sassy attitude and blunt honesty. She's got that old school wisdom, wrapped in love but trust. She's gonna tell it like it is. No sugarcoating.
If it isn't Little Miss Attitude, why are you always over here?
There's also Shanae Jenkins. Easily one of the most unforgettable characters, Shanae is loud, bold, and straight up unfiltered. With her over-the-top hairstyles and flashy outfits, she's impossible to ignore. Shanae's got plenty of attitude and never holds back, especially when she's got something to say about men or anything that ticks her off. But behind all that sass, there's a softer side that sneaks out every now and then, especially when she's dealing with Martin and the crew. She's got big energy, a flair for the dramatic, and a way of talking that's straight up comedy perfection.
Sang for Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, you know what I'm saying? And I wanted to get with that, but she was tripping, you know.
There's the self-proclaimed king of cool. Jerome rolls in with his flashy outfits, chains, and that deep swagger-filled voice, acting like he's the smoothest guy on the planet. He's always trying to charm the ladies, usually to Gina's frustration with his corny pickup lines and over-the-top confidence. His too smooth to fail attitude usually lands him in ridiculous situations where he's clearly in over his head, and it's pure comedy every time.
Little witch. That's why we can't get nowhere as a people.
There's the troublemaker Roscoe, who is basically chaos in kid form. Roscoe's got a mouth on him, always popping off with sassy comebacks and acting like he runs the show. He's that kid who's constantly stirring the pot but somehow charms his way out of any real consequences.
Hey, I heard there was a party, and I said, whoa, party's my middle name.
There's Bob from marketing, the ultimate office guy. Bob's that super corporate dude who's all about professionalism and sticking to the rules, basically the total opposite of Martin. He's chill, polite, and a little awkward, which makes him the perfect target for Martin's over-the-top antics. Bob's comedy comes from how out of place he seems when Martin's doing Martin things.
I am Dragonfly Jones, and this is my obedient servant.
There's Dragonfly Jones, meet Martin's martial arts obsessed alter ego, a guy who thinks he's a total karate master but honestly can't even pull off a basic move. He's always talking a big game about his skills, but when it's time to actually back it up, he's all bark, no bite. His tough guy act is so extra that it's impossible to take him seriously, and that's what makes him hilarious. Dragonfly's confidence is 100% fake, and watching him try and fail to show off is comedy gold.
Good.
There's Elroy Preston, a nerdy smooth talker who's convinced he's got game. Elroy's all about brains, science, and tech, and he's not afraid to flex his knowledge to try and charm the ladies. He's that guy who overthinks every move, turning what should be a simple conversation into a cringe fest. Even though he's smart, his attempts to impress usually spiral into awkward moments, making him the lovable weirdo you can't help but root for.
I would love to rock each and every one of your worlds.
There's King Beef. He is Martin's take on the ultimate tough guy. Think big energy, louder than life attitude, and a whole lot of macho swagger. He's got that deep booming voice and a no-nonsense stare that screams, "Don't mess with me." King Beef struts around like he owns the room, flexing his so-called alpha status, but it's impossible to take him seriously when Martin's behind the whole act. It's pure ridiculous fun every time he steps in.
Now I give you a tip, boy. Next time you change your motor oil, wear a shower cap.
And then there's Otis, the clumsy, big-hearted janitor who somehow always stumbles into Martin's messes. He's not exactly the quickest thinker, but that's what makes him so funny. Otis has a knack for being in the wrong spot at the worst time, and his cluelessness just adds to the chaos. Even though he's not the sharpest, you can't help but root for him. His awkward charm and genuine personality keep him lovable no matter how out of place he gets. Each of these characters brought their own flavor to Martin, and that's where Martin Lawrence's genius really shined. He gave each one such a unique personality that they felt like completely separate people. Switching between all those roles so flawlessly is why this show became such a classic, and why fans still love it to this day.
Come on now, push, Gina. You got to push it till you get it right.
In the variety show episode of Martin, Gina, aka Tisha Campbell, totally owns the stage when she belts out "Push." But here's the twist. It's not just a random song for the show. Nope, it's actually Tisha's real 1993 single. At the time, she was already killing it as Gina on Martin, but with "Push," she stepped into the music scene, showing everyone she's got more than just comedy skills and screen presence. Talk about flexing some serious talent. "Push" came straight off her debut album Tisha, where she blended R&B and pop into something totally her own. The song gave Tisha the chance to show off her vocal chops like never before, proving she wasn't just the hilarious Gina from Martin. Jumping into the music scene was a gutsy move, and "Push" hit hard with fans who were already obsessed with her from the show. When Gina hits the stage to perform "Push" in that Martin episode, it's like Tisha Campbell herself stepping into the spotlight. Fans got to see a whole new side of her, and this wasn't just some random plot twist, this was her real music career peeking through. Sliding her single into the show's storyline wasn't just smart, it was a major flex that let Campbell shine way beyond her usual funny girl moments. It turned into one of those unforgettable moments for both Martin lovers and her growing fan base. Fans got to see a side of Tisha they weren't so used to. It wasn't just another Gina moment, it was a spotlight on Tisha herself, proving she was way more than just an actress. This was her showing off her range, owning both the screen and the music scene. That episode, total standout. It reminded everyone that Gina and Tisha could shake things up in more ways than one. Before Tisha Campbell and Tichina Arnold had us cracking up as Gina and Pam on Martin, they were already killing it as a duo way back in Little Shop of Horrors. Yep, these two had that on-screen spark from the start. Tisha was Crystal, Tichina played Renette, and they teamed up with Michelle Weeks, Chiffon, to form a fierce, soulful trio that added serious energy to the cult musical. This trio wasn't just there to fill the background, they were the soul of the movie. Acting like a Motown-style Greek chorus, they kept the story moving with their fire harmonies and sassy takers, breaking down all the chaos between Seymour, Audrey, and that man-eating plant, Audrey 2. With bangers like Skid Row, Downtown, and Dadu, they brought a crazy amount of energy that still hits with fans of the movie today. What made their roles pop was how much personality and style they brought to every scene. Whether they were chilling on a street corner or vibing in the background, Campbell and Arnold lit up the screen with their charm and killer vocals. This early collab was a major hint at the star power they were about to unleash, and fans would get to see it big time in their roles on Martin. Their time in Little Shop of Horrors didn't just show off their singing skills, it also set the stage for the natural chemistry and playful back and forth they'd later bring to their roles as Gina and Pam. It's a total full circle moment, showing how their start in this cult classic shaped the bond and comic timing that made them fan faves on Martin. Going from belting out tunes on Skid Row to throwing shade on Martin? That's just one reason why this duo is forever iconic in pop culture. Tisha also had some history with Martin before the show. House Party was a total classic back in the day and still holds up as one of the best teen comedies. Starring Christopher Kid Reed and Martin Lawrence as Kid and Play, the film had its fair share of iconic moments. Tisha Campbell also made her mark as Shireen, and her role in the movie later led to some fun connections on Martin. The chemistry between Martin, Tisha, and Kid from House Party was undeniable, and it carried over into Martin too. One of the best moments came in the episode Forever Shenanay, when Kid Reed made a guest appearance. In this episode, he faces off with Shenanay Jenkins, one of Martin's most memorable characters. Shenanay, with her loud and brash personality, goes up against Kid's cool, laid-back demeanor in a hilarious radio show contest, pulling him into her wild world. The whole Kid versus Shenanay thing was the perfect throwback to House Party. Their chemistry from the movie flowed right into this moment, making it even funnier. It was a great way to mix in that nostalgia with the chaotic humor fans loved. In the episode, Kid and Shanae's rivalry turns into pure comedy, as Shanae's exaggerated personality bumps heads with Kid's chill one. The whole setup was a fun way to bring house party energy into the Martin world, giving fans of both the movie and the show an extra dose of laughs.
A cup to the side of the
Give me
head.
a bucket of fries, 2 chitlins, and a bowl of sunflower seeds.
In the classic Martin episode, Guard Your Grill, Martin ends up in the ring with boxing legend Tommy Hearns. Spoiler, it's not exactly a win for Martin, but the episode is a perfect example of how he mixed physical comedy with some seriously sharp one-liners. Martin gets totally knocked around by the pro boxer, but it's more than just about the punches. It's about how he turns this whole disaster into pure comedy gold. Martin Lawrence actually has some serious boxing cred. Before he hit it big as an actor, he was a Golden Gloves boxer, which is a huge deal in the amateur boxing world. While he didn't take the pro route, his time in the ring gave him the skills and confidence that would totally come in handy for his acting roles. Plus, that athleticism definitely helped when it came to doing his own physical comedy on screen. Martin's boxing experience added a hilarious twist to the Guard Your Grill episode. He brought his own knowledge of the sport to the fight scene, making it feel a little more real, even if it was super exaggerated. Sure, he didn't stand a chance against Tommy Hearns, but his character's cocky attitude gave us some classic moments, especially when his face ended up looking like a balloon after the fight. Total comedy gold. The fact that Martin actually had some boxing experience just made the whole thing even funnier for fans who caught the joke. The way he used his real-life knowledge of the sport and mixed it with his classic humor made the episode a total highlight. He got to flex a little bit of his actual skill while keeping the whole thing ridiculously entertaining. The aftermath of the fight, with Martin's totally wrecked face and his over-the-top reactions, became one of the most rewatchable moments from the show. It's the perfect example of how Martin took something from Lawrence's real life, his boxing skills, and turned it into a hilarious, unforgettable scene that still has fans cracking up.
I said, Mama used to say, take your time, young man.
So by the time Martin hit its 5th season, something seemed off. Gina wasn't in many scenes with Martin. In the final episode, the two didn't even share a scene. They just talked over the phone, and we saw them in split screens. Fans were definitely scratching their heads. Where was Gina? Well, here's where things get messy. After the show wrapped, Tisha came forward with some serious allegations against Martin. She revealed that she had actually left the show way earlier, months before the final episodes. And she didn't leave quietly. She filed a lawsuit accusing Martin of harassment, assault, and abuse. Tisha claimed that the issues didn't start in season 5, but had been going on for years. From the very first season, she said Martin kept asking her out, even though she kept saying no, but he didn't stop. By season 2, things got worse. She said Martin's behavior turned pretty extreme. Outbursts on set, yelling at the crew, and even threatening to fire people. Then by season 3, Tisha claimed it got even more toxic. She said Martin started humiliating her in front of the cast and crew, and the stress got so bad that she ended up in the hospital.
But Martin, unfortunately, show business at a certain point in his life got the best of him. And when that happens, you see it happening, and there's nothing you can do about it.
By season 5, she said she couldn't deal with it anymore. She claimed Martin started crossing serious personal boundaries, like allegedly touching her inappropriately during scenes, and even using his tongue during kiss scenes without her consent. Tisha said she even asked the writers not to include intimate moments between Gina and Martin, but those scenes still made it into the scripts. The final straw came when Martin reportedly had a huge blow-up on set that freaked everyone out. After that, Tisha told the producers she was done. She left the show for good and wasn't coming back.
And the network has a lot to do with that as well. They take care of the star, and then everybody else is a piece of shit. That's just how it goes down, and you embrace being a piece of shit.
When Tisha filed the lawsuit in 1997, fans were shocked. The claims about Martin's behavior escalating over the years were huge news. Martin denied all of it. but the tension between the two was undeniable. Years later, Reginald Ballard, who played Brewman, opened up about how bad things had gotten. He said the situation had gotten so intense that Tisha and Martin couldn't even be on the Universal Studios lot at the same time. It was a mess, and even he didn't fully understand what had happened. In the end, the lawsuit never went to trial. Tisha and Martin reached a settlement, and she came back briefly to film the final episodes. But by then, the damage had already been done.
Cause it's gonna haunt your every waking moment.
So Martin Lawrence didn't always play by the script. And honestly, that's part of what made Martin so hilarious. Tichina Arnold spilled the beans in an interview with BuzzFeed, saying Martin would often throw the script out the window and just improvise his lines. She laughed, saying, "The first time he went off script, we knew that's how it was going to be for the whole show." And let's be real, his off-the-cuff moments made everything 10 times funnier. It got to the point where the cast couldn't even keep it together. They'd try so hard not to laugh, but most of the time they failed. It became a bit of a game to see who would crack first. Thomas Michael Ford, who played Tommy, was the biggest loser in that game because Martin's antics were just too much. With over 100 episodes of Martin, there were obviously tons of hilarious moments, but when Martin was asked what his all-time favorite episode was, he straight up said, "Guard your grill." Back in the day, hitting 100 episodes was a huge milestone for TV shows. It basically meant you made it, and the reruns would keep the cash rolling in. When Seinfeld hit 100 episodes, NBC threw a big party for the cast and crew, but when Martin hit that milestone, Fox wasn't exactly throwing confetti. Instead of a big celebration, the cast just got gift baskets. And of course, that didn't sit well with Martin Lawrence. Tichina later dished out the details. She said when Martin saw the gift baskets, he was not having it. He stormed off the set to talk to Fox, and after that, the gifts got a major upgrade. Arnold laughed about it later, but it was obvious they felt pretty underappreciated by Fox. But the real kicker? The way Martin ended. Fans were devastated when the show got canceled after 5 seasons. And just like that, the show was over, leaving fans heartbroken with no closure.